ashes. But you saw the plan. I wandered out in the world for years, while you just stayed in your room.
Okay, working on the old 5030 tractor. Going to give it a quick paint job. So just recording a few fun facts here. One thing on the left hand side, unplugging the fender. Here's the plug-in for it. And then the bolts, they go towards the fender sets out as far as it can over the wheels. So it's got 15/16 hex bolts and some kind of hillside washers. Same thing on this side. Now here I'm going to have to take off, unwire this. I'm not sure how I'm going to end up doing this, but for the baler, we'll see. And then I'm sure it has another plug-in over here somewhere that goes to the fender. Maybe it ends up over on the other side. I'm not sure. Anyway, just recording this so I can put her back together. Now here it is. They got it kind of tied up in a little wire nut, kind of keep it probably from those lift arms. So anyway, take off those fenders, took off the toolbox, kind of clean that up, and I'm going to put some metal prep on here and then go from there. And then, as you can see, this bracket here was black up around the engine compartment. Maybe I'll paint it blue and then paint it black after that. This stuff here was blue or black. Okay, now I'm pulling apart that black where you turn the kill the engine. So that cable runs on the back side of this, kind of runs behind the fuel filters, comes up here. It's got a little, it grabs the cable shield right here, and then the little set screw here to kill the engine. So hopefully I can remember to take that off before I go to paint it, and that way just have that whole cable off. And over here, that's that shield for the right side. Here's the shield for the left side, and then the center. I'm just going to take that horn switch out of there. So there's all the screws. So anyway, I'll keep that all black. Here I'm going to take off the speedometer, tachometer, all that stuff. So I'm going to kind of group it, or it's already grouped in two sets of wires here. Here you've got a black is down on the bottom left corner as you're setting on the tractor. So you got a black and a green, and then you've got a green kind of yellow, and then a green black with a stripe in it too. And then also there's a red with a white wire over here. So that must be the oil. This other one, this must be the gas gauge maybe. I'm not sure what the black one is. But anyway, hopefully I'll get this right, taking it off. Let's see, maybe I can, yeah, the tank is showing pretty much empty. Now if I unhook that, it shows all the way empty. So yeah, this is the gas gauge. Oops. So the green one up top here is the gas gauge, and then the bottom one here, I'm not sure what, it almost looks like a ground, but it's black. And then you've got some other light here. Lay down the camera for a second. You know what, I think on second thought, instead of taking this stuff apart, I mean, I might break a bulb or something. This thing's like $1,100 to buy it off of Ford. I'm just going to take it, wrap it up in like a paper, and then just hang it off the steering wheel. So forget it. I am not going to do the speedometer. I'm just going to wrap it up. But I do want to sand around it. Now, on this Ford here, what I've done, I've taken this Chemchronic paint from Allen Williams, and I painted the frame around the engine. Anywhere there was a lot of rust, you know, there wasn't super bad rust, but still it was paint chipped off and areas of rust. So that's what I've back here on the back end. Of course, you know, the lift arms didn't have much paint on it at all, and all the deluxe valves there, they were showing aluminum where they were, you know, maybe that Chemchronic paint will stick better. But I painted, primed with a brush, the floorboards. There's some on the intake manifold, some around the engine, up underneath the guard on the drive shaft. So now I'm going to go ahead and prime all this with the regular New Holland primer. You know, I'm using this New Holland Iron Guard blue acrylic. I'm having troubles. I don't know. I believe I've been told or read where Valspar makes this paint. Here is the primer, an MS-43 gray primer. And then here's their thinner. But man, you can't get anything out of it. No one seems to know, or everybody makes guesses. But anyway, I'm going to put the New Holland primer over this primer, let it set for a few days, and then put the blue to it. Then I'm going to come back and paint the black stuff later on. So I'm going to cover up the gas tank, some of this other stuff. But some things that are black will probably get painted blue, but that'll be all right. Then the wheels, I'm going to do at a later date. But yeah, the wheels is the same thing. Brush on the primer, then paint on the New Holland primer, and then paint the wheels white. So anyway, that's my 50-30. You know, I got that front axle fixed on it, which you can watch on another video. So now I'm just kind of giving it a refresh coat of paint. So stay tuned. Over here on the fenders, here's what my fenders look fine, really. But they did have rust, especially on the inside, rock chips and stuff. So same thing, I'm gonna, you know, paint all the sheet metal, just kind of give it a fine sanding, and then put the primer to her, and then the paint. So now I got this thing pretty well primered, all that I'm going to do with the brush primer. I took up on top of the lid here, up on top, I used my DA sander and cleaned it up, sanded everything. Now, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. It sounded like a good idea, so I'm going to do it. But I was watching some other videos where people took and left the stickers on and then paint right over top the stickers and then stick the new stickers on top of the old stickers. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So what I did is I sanded on the stickers themselves. One thing was funny here, it had like a filler in these cracks that went around here, and that was all kind of rusted and they're pretty good. So I took and ripped all that out of there, and then I took a wire brush, a little rotary wire brush, and cleaned that all up. So anyway, I think really the top, the sheet metal there, really cleaned up pretty good. So I'm trying to decide whether I keep my Hayhurst. That's the company that I bought it off of, 1993. They're out of business, but maybe I'll keep it on there just for memory's sake. But the sheet metal ended up really being very easy to sand down. Here again, the only place it had a bad was up on top of the hood there that rolls open. It was rusted pretty bad, but no pits or anything. It just had a lot of, it always like was down to the black primer or something. So anyway, the rest of her is pretty well primed up. So I'm going to let this primer dry. It's been a couple days now, and I'm going to wait 3 days for it to dry, and then paint spray primer over it. So tomorrow I'm going to tape everything off, like the chrome there on the power steering cylinder. I'm going to tape off the nameplates on the pump, the power steering pump, the hydraulic pump, the fuel injector, everything that has a nameplate I want to cover up. And then a few other things. Like the oil filters and stuff, I'm just going to paint right over them, big deal. Not a problem. Back of that alternator, I'll paint that, make it look, that little oil cooler. Of course, up front on the radiator, don't want to paint that. That would insulate it. So anyway, and then the wheels, like I say, wheels I'm going to do at a later date. I can just kind of take them off one at a time and sand them up, grind them up, paint them. This wheel here, you can see it has a lot of chips and stuff on it. Now, the reason why, from the disc mower. So the disc mower, rear disc mower, sits there and throws lots of rocks and stuff. And that's what chipped that thing up. So, anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll get her primed up here in the next day or two. One thing to point out here too, I kind of wrote the numbers on here also. This hole right here didn't have a light in it. Looking at it, it's some kind of like high beams, some kind of lights, but there was no bulb for that. There was just a place. So 4 and 11 are for illumination, and then this one over here, number 1's a battery. I don't know what number 2's supposed to be. Huh. You can kind of make it out for yourself. And then there's the oil. Number 3 is the oil. And the rest of these are the gauges with the green wires for the fuel gauge, the temperature. I'm not sure what the other one was exactly for. Anyway, I'm just going to stuff those back in there, cover them up with newspaper, and I won't have to tape over this thing. After taking this thing apart, there was 5 screws there on the back, and the thing just come right apart. I thought it might be harder than that, but here is the lens. This is kind of what it looked like. Sparax sells this. It's like 40 bucks, but you can kind of see it's real foggy. You can see like little fine cracks in the plastic. So I don't know what kind of plastic this is. Must not be Lexan. Must be some cheaper plastic. But anyway, it's really hard to see the gauge, especially when the sun's shining. So anyway, I'm going to try to just order this, because that's really all I need. Everything else, I'll clean this baby up and put her back together. So hopefully the new lens will fit right in there, and that'll take care of it. One thing more on this lens, it was kind of real tight. I couldn't get it out. So what I did is up at the top, it's like if you hinge it from the top, let the bottom of it hinge, I stuck a screwdriver in here, kind of a 1/4 inch wide screwdriver flat blade on each side, and was able to pick it up and just get it to roll out. So that way the gauge or that 10, that background come right out. So anyway, that's just made it real easy and didn't break anything. That's the main thing. You don't want to break something. So here we are, getting ready to paint this baby, or put some primer on it. Like I said before, I'm going to leave the stickers on there and just paint over them. And I'm just going to primer it up. Doing that outside. I may or may not paint the tractor inside when I get to the blue and white. So anyway, I got her taped off. Going to hit her with a coat of primer, see what happens. It's fairly calm out right now, so I hope it all works out. So anyway, gave her a couple shots of primer. So now she's not blue anymore. She's all gray. Here again, I'm going to do the wheels and those blue centers. I'll end up doing those later. So, but the main thing, you know, the engine and stuff can be a little bit rough. You'll never know it because the engine's rough anyway, but the sheet metal, need to have it in pretty good shape. So anyway, hopefully here in about 4 or 5 days, I'll hit it again to give it the coat of blue. So I just need to pull her back in the garage. I got to decide if I'm going to, it'll have to be a super calm day to paint it outside the blue for that hood and stuff. Or maybe what I'll do is paint the engine and stuff outside and then do the hood and stuff on the inside. Don't know yet. So anyway, at least hopefully this will stop a lot of the rust. And of course the old end loader over there, it had all kinds of surface rust. You know, the labels peeled off of it. The end loader, they did a terrible job on it. It was really rusted bad. So, but we'll see what happens here in a few days. Quick update. One thing, I was going to just spray these wheels and not, you know, worry about it. There's not a whole lot of rust on them, but still there's, you know, a fair amount of rust around where I spun those rims out on the front rims. So anyway, what I decided to do was to use that Chemchromic paint from Sherwin-Williams, the brush on stuff. So I brushed on, especially this wheel over here that takes a beating from all the rocks on the rear disc mower. I mean, that thing was beat up pretty good, had lots of rust on it. And the front one there, so I went ahead and gave them a coat of that red primer. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the New Holland primer on it and let it dry for a few days. Well, I'll let this dry for several days and then put the primer on from New Holland, and then I'll the wheels on this is the gray white primer for 2000s and older. That's what goes on the fenders and the wheels. And of course the blue acrylic is the name of the paint that goes on the blue. So anyway, just thought I'd tell you, I went ahead and decided, what the heck, yeah, you'll probably see a few brush marks, but not that much, and people, if they're looking that close, big deal. And two, remember, this is just going to be a work tractor. This is not some show tractor. Finally, got those rims primed, and then two, I got them taped off, okay? Inside and out, putting little tiny pieces, about 3-inch tape all the way around the centers, and then newspaper up the sides. So I'm going to spray them here in a little bit, gray primer, and it can then take longer to dry because it'll be a few days before I go onto the white. But anyway, it took 2 hours to tape all that. So anyway, remember that, allow plenty of time for taping and papering. Wow. So, food for thought. So here on the fenders, really just going to replace, we're going to take off all those warning symbols and just leave the Speedo, and I'll paint over it so I'll know where to place it. And down here, the Oh, that Fosse valve is just bolted on with one of those big fender bolts. This rig for the baler, those two bolts right here, and then this here is for the hydraulics on the blade. So that's got to come off, and of course the light here and the light out front. So the wiring is kind of laying around in here, and then let's see. Oh, that's right, it went down in the fender. Anyway, that's how I'm doing it. There's that wiring. It goes on the fender. Where the heck is it coming out at? Ooh, that goes all the way up there. Huh. I don't know. I may just leave that wiring in there, tape it up. Kind of hard to fish back up in there. This guy over here. You know, I don't even think I'll put that umbrella thing back on. Never going to use it again. Then you got the utility light and the wiring there, and then this little light. And take off that light, and then, like I say, just wrap up the wiring, maybe in some tin foil or something. So I don't know if I'll take those fenders apart. Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see. At this connector here, it's kind of got a gray wire and a red wire. The red wire is towards the inside of the fender. So then you have the wire that goes to the work light onto that side, and then you've got the wire, the black wire that goes up to the signal light, the one that has the switch on it, on the other. So it's kind of a red and maybe gray wire. So this wire here, it's kind of a green and a red wire, goes off to the work light, and then the other one. So remember that. This headlight here, there's two wires here. One's a purple, the other's like a purple and a red. And the purple and the red has like mud daubers filled the hole. So anyway, that should be an indicator that that's the other hole. Okay, over on the left-hand side fender, there's the light. Here there's like a purple wire with a stripe in it, like a red and purple. And then this wire here appears to be green. Pretty much green all the way, which seems funny. You wouldn't think that that green wire, maybe it's green with kind of a red, a faded out red. Anyway, I'll put a piece of tape on it. That's the one you want to plug into. The other one's the holes plugged. That's for the light on the left side. I've taken all the black parts and I just used this Rust-Oleum high performance paint, their primer and their black gloss paint. So like the seat pan, the whole seat assembly, I'm gonna paint the front grille, the underneath the steering wheel, the little dash parts there, painting those, and that cap, the intake breather, it had really rusted really bad. So anyway, on all these parts, well, not the little dash parts, but the intake breather and the seat pan, I brushed those on with that chromic anti-rust paint. Really gave it a good heavy coat, let it dry for about 5-6 days. And so hopefully that'll hold out good. Now also, what I'm going to do, I'm going to spray the bulk of the tractor outside. I've taken and I've watered down the floor, cleaned up everything. I took thinner and went over it and cleaned it up, took a tack rag, and then I've watered down the floor for the dust and also so the paint won't stick to the floor. So I'm just going to do the sheet metal inside the garage. Yeah, it'd be great to do the whole tractor in the garage, but I'm really not set up for that. So, I mean, there's a few little odds and ends on the hood that could be better. I don't know if you can see those. There's a little couple. They're not really dense, but I mean, I know I've gotten in the loader before and stood on the hood, so It's just little odds and ends. So anyway, we'll see what it looks like. Decided to take the fenders apart. Just looking at the bolts. So on these bolts, they go in on the inner part of the fender, the brace, whatever you want to call it. The holes go in the bottom, and then they skip a hole. They go up into the slotted hole. So they're almost as low as they can go down, I guess. So anyway, hole in the very bottom bolt. So on the other side is just, you know, the bolts there. So anyway, gonna need to know that. So bottom bolts and then the second hole up slotted. Stay tuned. Well, one thing, after taking this apart here, it was not super bad rusted, but there is some rust. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of clean this up, wire brush it, and then put that the brush on enamel on there, the chromic, sorry, and do that. That way it'll just be that much ahead of the game. Should keep it from ever rusting inside there again. But it's not bad, but there is a little bit of rust. Here we are, kind of back at the beginning. I painted the whole tractor, and it worked out pretty good. But by painting the hood first, all the sheet metal, and then doing that first, it turned out nice. But then I painted the engine and got a lot of blue overspray, so it made it rough. So what I've decided to do is I wet sanded back down the hood, and I've got it in the garage here, and I'm just doing the hood again. So I've covered up the wheels because I don't want stuff that's white to get blue, but you know, I don't care if the engine gets some overspray on it. So the recommendation here is do the engine, all the blue other than the sheet metal blue first, and then do the sheet metal last. That way if you get overspray on it, big deal, it's not going to hurt anything. So anyway, I'm going to give it 4 or 5 coats here. It's been about a week and a half, and I wet sanded it, and it wet sanded just perfect. So anyway, putting a new coat on it. I hope I'm not screwing up. I really don't know, but I'm giving it my best shot. That hood and the top sheet metal again. Got rid of the, sanded it back down. Gave it kind of a slick coat. Get rid of overspray. Got the tape off everything. Still got to paint the hubs blue on the front and rear wheels, but like I said, I got to paint those hubs, but taking the tape off of it now. So of course I have to get the stickers on eventually and bolt on the seat and bolt on those parts underneath the dash. You know, all in all, it wasn't too bad a job. It still got a lot of overspray from even the wheels and stuff on the rest of the tractor. Yeah, it would have been great to have unbolted the wheels, but man, that would have been a major job to have done. Made it a lot harder. So anyway, here again, it's a refresh. It's not like we're doing revamping the whole tractor. That roll bar and stuff, I think I said I just took spray cans of paint and painted that. So anyway, all in all, it's not looking too bad. It came out pretty decent. It could have definitely been better, and it would have been better to take things apart and spray them all separately, but man, that would have taken a lot more time, a lot more effort. So here again, it's just a refresh. So stay tuned. Still got lots of parts to put on. Putting the fenders back together, what I did is underneath this big flat washer, which it didn't have that on there before, I put a 5/8 star washer, stainless star washer, and then a stainless flat washer, and that big big washer that they had there. I'm not sure what you call that, but it's about like a 1/4 inch spacer. And then a stainless lock washer, and then the 5/8 bolt. And I also took my little die grinder and ground the paint and everything off and made sure I had a good ground. And the same thing on the fenders for the lights here. Okay, I noticed that it looked like my dad had messed with these things before, didn't have a good ground. So what I did, you can see there, right in here I had this all painted, but I ground that all down to bare metal. And then on the little bracket here, I took and ground that down. Now I'm going to grind it right around the hole there. The same thing on this, I put in a 1/2 inch star washer, then I put in a 1/2 inch flat washer, then I put this little kind of cable holder, and then a lock washer, and then the 1/2 inch bolt or nut, sorry. So anyway, the good thing about it is, after doing all that and grinding everything down, when I turn the key on, at least on this side so far, whoa, I get lights. That was my main concern, is to get a good ground. So anyway, I'm going to do it to the other side now. So, gotta have a good ground or the lights won't work. I took the speedometer apart, and here's the kind of the outer case frame, whatever you want to call it. It was faded real bad. So of course, you know, one of these speedometers, of course, it's like from the dealer, it's $500-600 bucks. You can get aftermarket ones anywhere from $150 to $200. And I've got 1,900 hours on there. I don't want to lose that. Plus, this is working fine. The two things, this was, you know, kind of real faded out, and then this lens here. As you can see here, you know, if you hold up the lens, you can see on the side here where the glass or the plastic's still good, but this lens has a bunch of, just like tiny fine cracks or something in it. I mean, it's just completely almost foggy. I mean, you can see it when you get it all together. Anyway, I ordered a new one off of Amazon. They're out of stock of it. I think it comes from Stein or somewhere. It's like 40 bucks. It's 110 off the Ford dealer. So I'm waiting for that to come in. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back together. Here is this kind of maybe they call it the bezel or something. So that drops in there, and then it had these 4 little rubber, really, they're almost shock absorbers that were on there. And then I'm going to slip it back together. I kind of cleaned it up, blew it all out, lightly blew it out. I didn't want to hurt it. So that cover goes back on there. And I mean, you can see, you can read it, especially, but sometimes when it's out in the sun, it's really hard to look at. So I'm going to put it back together, and I had that other video where I marked it, you know, the wiring. So I made a video of it, so if these numbers go away, I can read them. So then I'm going to put the bezel back on, and 5 screws it back together, and then put it back in the old tractor and hook her up. So anyway, so here's another shot of the old tractor. It's thought I'd take it out and put it in the sunshine for a little bit. Still not done. I still got to put the hydraulic valve back on. I've got it painted up. I've got a new hose ordered to hopefully be here tomorrow. So anyway, it's looking decent. I still got to paint the hubs. I'm just going to end up taking those hubs, and when I get my blue paint in, I'm just going to brush paint those on. That hub there and the front hub. Now I did a little bit on the other side just to see it wasn't too hard. I'm just going to tape it up and brush paint it, and that'll be fine. So, but the rest of it, it's looking decent. I mean, it's no great job, it's no perfect job, but it's a pretty good refresh job. I'm guessing it's going to be 30 to 40 days before I put the stickers on it. You can see the existing stickers. Now over here's my helper. This guy here, Thunder, helped me do this job. He was the maintainer. So at any rate, one thing that turned out better than I thought it would, I ended up on this Speedo, you know, painting it, and then I ended up taking just car scratch remover and put that on, let it dry, and kind of buffed out that screen. I mean, it looks way better than it did before. It's pretty readable. It's still not great, and I've got a new one ordered, but it's going to be several more weeks before I get it. So anyway, it's you know, I put the baler controller, painted it up. It was rusty and it had a big long wire on it, so I kind of shortened up the wire, and I put my switches for my hydraulic Fosse valve, kind of put those back on, cleaned it up, and then before I just kind of had a cable hanging down and wire nuts exposed, so I just stuck an aluminum junction box stainless lid coupling, and then this little quick disconnect for my blade, so then that runs over, like I say, to the Fosse valve, and of course here's where you hook up the baler. So I've got this two-way diverter valve stuck on here. That's what originally came with my Woods blade, but I use it now to switch between whether I want to use the auger up front or if I'm going to use some other attachment in the back. So anyway, it comes out of the second remote. The first remote valve hooks up, you know, is on all the time for the end loader. The second remote comes out here through these two hoses, feeds this diverter valve, and it'll either go up front through my loader to my auger, my hydraulic auger, or it'll go to another connection that then I use for whatever. I mean, it could be the blade, it could be the concrete mixer, it could be the baler, whatever. I use that top up here. But the lights, now the lights really aren't perfect. This one had a crack and it was broke. My dad must have hit it with a tree limb or something. It was just kind of hanging on there, but I've got it working now, and it's $154 for that light. I'm going to try to make it work as long as I can. So, at any rate, that's how it's starting to look. Really, put the hydraulic valve on, put the stickers on, and then of course the end loader I'm going to paint later this summer. But I think it's not looking too bad, so we'll see. So here I'm going to unhook the hoses again. So I've capped off the cylinders, and here on the hoses, on the tubes, you got blue, red, green, and yellow. Blue, red, green, and yellow hoses. They're marked on both ends. And then down here, of course, on the cylinders, the lifting cylinders, you've got the long hose goes on the second one. This is the long hose. This is the short hose. Okay, so that's on the right and the left. So it's the back. The short hose is the back one, and the long hose is the next one up, the third one back, or the second one from this side, from the back. And then the short hose is the front, the very front. So this is the short hose, and the short hose goes up top. Okay, so up top, short hose goes to the very front on the tilt cylinder. So the bottom tilt cylinder is the longer hose, and it goes on the second tube back. It's the same thing over on this side. The very front is the short hose, which is on top, and the second one back is the longer hose, which goes down to the bottom. Okay, so, and then once again, the third hose back is the long hose on the lift cylinder, and the fourth one, the very far one back, is the front hose or the short hose. So hopefully that has all your questions, and that should do it. So I'm going to take this apart so then I can get it, let it be dripping the oil and stuff, and then I want to take those tubes off. And I think what I'm going to try to do is take this baby and spray it with Chromic Sherwin-Williams paint. And the reason I want to spray it is just because I won't have so many brush marks. Because I want this to look fairly good, but I think that Chromic will be good. So I broke the lines loose, and now looking at the hoses here, you got the blue hose. Looking at this thing, the way it's setting. Okay, so I'm coming up, and up front, which is going to really be on top, is the blue hose, and it has the little insulator around it, another piece of hose. Then you have the red hose, the green hose, and the yellow hose. Okay, so blue, red, green, and yellow. Blue, red, green, and yellow. Blue, red, green, and yellow. And then they just pull down through here, and then they loop around. Well, right now, just going to take those, kind of lay them on the hill and let them drain. So that's the way they go. And just to verify this, the way the hoses go, or the tubes, same thing, blue, red, green, and yellow. Blue, red, green, and yellow is the lineup for getting them in order and then clamping them down. So blue is the front top one, red second, second one back, green third one down, third one back, yellow fourth one down, bottom one all the way. So just trying to keep her documented. I have now working on the end loader, and what I've done is pretty much sanded it, use a flap sander grinding wheel, and taken it down to the metal. Okay. The reason for this, anybody that's got this loader knows this thing really rusted a lot. It had several places. You can see here it's kind of ate into the metal. I mean, it's all heavy duty, so it's like 3/16 plate, 1/8 inch plate, some of it's 1/4 inch plate. It's not going to rust through, but still it makes a bad looking job. So what I've done is sanded her down here, taped off the cylinders, the grease joints, and since it's so heavily rusted, and since I have taken it clear down to the metal, I'm still going to use the paint from New Holland and their primer, but I'm also going to use this Sherwin-Williams Chromic primer, just like I brushed onto the frame of the tractor. I'm going to spray it on with this, it's like a Wagner cheap painter, but I've done this before with my gates, so it worked out pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do. Going to give it a coat of primer, so we'll see how this goes. Here I have the end loader frame painted with the Chromic Sherwin-Williams paint. So I ended up painting this with that little cheap Wagner paint pump, and it did a pretty good job. It caused some kind of dryness on it, so I took and 220 grit paper, sanded it with my little orbital sander, got it back down smooth. So now I'm getting ready to put the hydraulic lines back into the brackets where I had those removed, so I could get in behind them and paint everything good. So I'm going to put the brackets or the hydraulic lines back on and then hit it with the gray primer, the Ford primer. And then after that dries, maybe give it a day, I'll paint it with the Ford blue. So anyway, hopefully this primer will give it a little extra kick and keep it from rusting. Again, this thing was really rusted up pretty bad, like the stickers on it were rusted. So I'm not sure, maybe just Ford New Holland did a poor paint job on these things. I don't know what happened, but anyway, I'm going to paint it gray here shortly, or prime it. Here is the primed loader now. Underneath is the Chemchromic, and on top of this is the New Holland based primer, gray. So I'll let this dry for a couple days, and then I'll take some little bit of sanding paper over it and then hit it with the blue. So it would definitely be much better to do this inside, but I don't really have the room or the right location, so it's going to be an outside job. But all in all, it looks pretty good, and where that was rusted up, I've got it looking pretty good. So anyway, we will see here in the next few days. Here is, now I'm putting on the stickers on, this is the speedometer sticker we just stuck on. And then down here is the, I had painted over the sticker for the remote valves for the up, down, or in, out, float. So now what we're going to do is put these stickers on. First going to squirt what I have read, I don't know if it's 100% right, but a half teaspoon of like Dawn, and then spray it on the area, and then stick the sticker on, let it dry for 24 hours, and then peel the top sticker off, which is called the application sticker, I believe. So here is a sticker peeled off the back. Now I'm going to get it close, and then with that sticky or that spongy dishwasher liquid on there, slippery, it moves around, and put it in place. And then take a little body squeegee out all the air bubbles out of it, and then we'll just leave it for tomorrow. Hopefully peel it out tomorrow, peel it off the upper application sticker. So that's what we're doing. Next one we got to do here is up on the dashboard, putting stickers on for the shifting, the gear shift. We've kind of put the sticker on the dash, the speedo, the warning, got to be in neutral, the lift. Now we've stuck the back sticker. Now these don't have what the front sticker or front covering, application covering. These just stick on there. They have a backing and that's it. Now this one here, we went ahead and squirted it with water, and it's kind of, this curve here, it kind of goes uphill, so that was making some air bubbles. Plus we had to trim it here. We may have to trim it again. This one here, I think we can line it up. Now, of course, for you guys that really know, the Ford is supposed to go back here in the back. It's supposed to be towards the end of the the back of the hood, but it's not. And then up here, it's going to end up, going to have to cut it, not much, like ½ inch, and then at the taper. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and squirt some, go ahead and pull that back. And I'm just going to take the squirt bottle and squirt it
as we go.
So just apply a liberal amount and getting it really wet. It seems to be working. Now tomorrow maybe it won't work, but I'm really putting it on heavy and we'll see what happens. But so far it seems to have done pretty good. So I better stop the camera and help. Here is the left-hand side finished. So it turned out, well, guess we don't have the 50-30 on there yet, but not looking too bad. Here again, the Ford should have been clear at the back. Right here was the way the original, looking at the manuals, I know what my tractor looked like at the beginning. Looking at other tractors on the web. When I called the company about this, they said, oh no, that's just the way we're doing them, and that's the way some of them were done. I don't believe it. I think that it's just easier for them maybe. So anyway, it's looking pretty good. Tomorrow after it dries, I'll put the 50-30 on there. But using the spray bottle and the dishwasher liquid, 1/4 teaspoon, seems to work pretty darn good. Here we have the other side. So it was a little different. The hood, of course, doesn't 100% line up. So that was off a little bit. And then one thing I think we did better here, we held the sticker back away from the edge. On the other side, we held it right to the edge and then took a knife and cut it. I think moving back an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch and then putting the sticker is better. So you don't have to cut it. Now, of course, on this one, you had to cut it. It's at a taper, plus the sticker was longer. And we were able to, this valve assembly, that's not the original assembly, but it's what I've got now. And I could have easily unbolted it, but we were able to put our hands in here, smooth it out pretty good. So anyway, there it is. So both sides, and we'll take the application papers off tomorrow on the front of the stickers, and then we'll put the 50-30 on and see what that looks like. Hopefully these stickers will be sticking good. They just don't really feel that sticky. I'm surprised when putting them on. I kind of put a couple pieces over here on a fan just to let it dry and see how hard it peels off, but it just didn't seem that sticky. So, and I don't know how good these stickers will be, because I mean, it was like $50 for these big stickers and the 50-30. So that's fairly inexpensive. So now maybe somebody makes better stickers, but of course the dealer, New Holland, doesn't have these stickers anymore, these decals. They don't have them for the end loader either. So they're all aftermarket. So we'll see how they go. So hopefully it all works out. Here's the next day. Got the Ford stickers on there, peeled off like the gear shift sticker. The shifter down here, or the sticker for the PTO. Here's the one for the speedo, the neutral levers, and then the deluxe remote valves. I will have to say that I can't remember the name of the outfit that I got these smaller stickers at. These babies really stick good, and they had that little application sheet on top of them. I hope these stickers stick good. They definitely don't seem to be as sticky as the other ones, but maybe they'll be just fine. So getting ready to put the 50-30 number on there. So we'll see here shortly. Here is some video of the tractor with the decals on. So the 50/30 and Ford. Now, one thing that's not correct, the Ford letters should be back towards the back of the hood that we've talked about before. But all in all, doesn't look too bad. And here was the speedometer. Once again, that speedometer decal has a high and low range of rabbit and a turtle. Well, this one really is just the rabbit. The lower range gearbox or little switch that mounted underneath the steering wheel, this tractor never had. There was the attention about the neutral shift. Here's this one on the PTO. And then, of course, the one of the shifter. And as you can see, the speedometer turned out pretty good. Before, you could barely read it, but I took that wax, just regular car wax, and waxed the heck out of that thing and let it dry and kind of buffed it out. And I painted this plastic around here with some, that was anti-rust or plastic paint made for plastic. So anyway, it is pretty much coming along. Now I just need to get the end loader. I just painted it yesterday, so this is about May the 20th. So I put it under a tarp to keep the direct sunlight off of it, so I'll let it stay under there for a few days. Definitely doesn't have any direct sunlight, and it at least it's keeping it good and hot in there. It's probably 120 degrees inside that black tarp. So anyway, almost done with the thing. Here's how my baler wiring, before that wiring was all kind of run around there. And then my little connection here, it's aluminum box, stainless lid, stainless fittings for my switch, that Fosse valve control underneath here. I also got I've ordered new seat cushions, but I also put kind of a inexpensive seat cover. It just fits over. I had one of these before. I got it off Amazon. It fits pretty good, and hey, it'll just help the seat age a little bit. Oh yeah, there's the other decal for the raising it up and down. So, and I did leave the original decals from Hayhurst Equipment where we bought it at in '93. Thought it'd be kind of nostalgic to leave those on there. So that company is no more. So that's what she's looked like so far.